Thanks, Danny. Hi, Phil. What's the mood in the camp been like in the last couple of days since the defeat by the Westindies? Harry said afterwards he felt England battered a little bit carefully. It's not the first time he sort of said that about the group in the past. Maybe, so Harry said afterwards that I lost my train of thought. That he felt England maybe battered a little bit carefully. Obviously, yourself accepted. Maybe during those middle overs. It's not the first time he said that. I think he said maybe we didn't go harder in the past when England have suffered a defeat. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it maybe England were battered a little bit carefully in those middle overs on Wednesday?
I can't give you insights into other guys' sort of mentalities, but sometimes it can creep in a little bit. The sort of the differences between playing in a bilateral maybe and tournament play. They are two different things. But I think the main takeaways from that game was we did bat possibly a bit too tentatively. And I think going forwards, as I said, the opportunities are in front of us, but the opportunities there are to go out and play with some personality, express yourself. Because when we do that, sides can't live with us. We know that much. But it's about actually bringing it to that night and in that moment where you've got a decision to make, taking the positive option with your chest out and putting a stamp on the game. I think that is what's in front of us. And if we want to go deep into this World Cup, we're going to have to do exactly that.
And obviously, you haven't really hit your straps yet. We're still 1-on-1. You think everything's still in your own hands and to play for? Or is it just about now sticking out your chest and trying to be the best version of yourselves?
That's exactly it. That's definitely my mindset anyway. And I think that's the direction that we're going to throw everything into in the coming games.
We'll go Simon, Matt, and then we'll open it up to everyone else after that. Go ahead, Simon.
Hi. So you've kind of played Scotland before in 2024, though the match didn't really happen. Was there any extra spice that day? Any kind of neighbourly, extra energy about facing Scotland?
I think, there's always a bit of that. Definitely from their side as well. I think this is, knowing a few of their boys, this is, a bit of a special game for them. An opportunity to upset England is, I think most Scotsmen's dream. So there is a bit of that. With that being said, it's another game of cricket, this World Cup, and we've got to bring the best version of ourselves. Really simple.
Just thinking back to 2022, the World Cup that England won, lost to Ireland fairly early on in the group stage, and then were backed into a corner, and that's when the team really started to shine. Is there an element to you as a team or to kind of English sport that you kind of stand up when you really have to?
I think that's the mark of all good teams, and all good athletes in general in professional sport. I think, when your back is against the wall, to come out and bring that best version of yourself. Obviously we did that in 2022, and we'll look to do that again here. I've said it a couple of times now, but it's really, really simple what we need to do. We need to, remove the outcome from everything. Taxi. We need to remove the outcome, focus on the processes of what we're doing and bring the best version of ourselves.
Lastly, the tournament so far, there'd been lots of close shaves, including England against Nepal, but no real upset until today when Australia lost. Is there a bit of maybe there, but for the grace of God, or just is that a reminder that you can't take anything for granted here?
Yeah, you definitely can't take anything for granted in a World Cup. I suppose that's the beauty of it for a lot. But I know we've all got different jobs in cricket, players, journalists, but at the end of the day, we're all cricket fans, and I think that's part of the exciting part of a World Cup with this many teams.
We'll go Matt at the back right, Richard, and then we'll open it up down here at the front. Go on.
Hi Phil. As Charlie said, Harry's mentioned the too careful, not go harder thing a few times. Is that all that's said in the dressing room after a defeat like that, or is there more, or is it a deeper thing to it that we maybe don't see?
I think there are a lot of different aspects to it. Coaches going around players individually, and saying what they like and didn't like, but that's not exclusively for after a defeat. That's part of the daily process of getting better as a team. So that's probably the part that you don't see. But I think the overriding theme was exactly that: a little bit too careful, a little bit too tentative. We know we've got to let ourselves go. And, trust in ourselves for the rest of the competition.
And you know these conditions well. You've played here for KKR. What do you expect, or what do you need to do to play a good innings here? What are the crucial key parts to it?
I think it's there for everyone to see watching replays and highlights of games here. And there's a little bit in it early on for the bowlers. I've not had too hard a look at the wicket yet. Can offer spin at times. I think mainly it's the new ball wicket, and I think the power plays are crucial here.
And last one, how you obviously had a decent impact on the game the other day without really kicking on that fast start. Is that a frustration? Those days, are they a frustration when maybe you get to 20, 30 or 10 balls, or do you see that as your job done?
No, definitely not job done. I feel like that's a frustration for every batter. Some days you get there and organically you take 10 off the next 10. And then, you extend your innings that way. Other days, you extend your innings by keep playing the same way, keep being positive, keep throwing the pressure back on. That's something I was very, very confident of. I've faced Romario a lot, in the last year or so. Obviously, we're teammates at IPL, and I had a good plan against him. And if I was to face him tomorrow and he was to set that field and bowl the line that he did early on, I would commit to exactly the same plan, but no, definitely not job done.
Richard, back left, and then we'll come at the front here.
Phil, obviously you've played a lot of IPL cricket and international cricket, and Scotland are neighbours, but have you either seen or faced all the Scotland bowlers before? Are you familiar with them, and if not, will you be watching footage of them? How do you go about preparing for a game against an associate nation?
Yeah, very familiar with all of them, to be honest. I've watched a lot of their cricket and played against them a few times. Not necessarily just when it's been England against Scotland, but in different franchise leagues. They're a good side. They've got a good attack. I think they've got quite a lot of games under their belts as a collective as well. So they've been here before. They've been in this position before, and I think they will put up a good fight.
It's not new with Mark Watt, but how as a batsman, when you're trying to set yourself for someone to bowl at 22 yards, if he releases the ball at 25, how do you sort of prepare for that?
I think it's about seeing him reacting. It's not always in his benefit, bowling the ball from 25 yards. If anything, it probably takes his margin away from him a fraction, with what lengths he can sort of go into. He probably can't hurry you up from 25 yards either. So, I think there's pros and cons to it, even though it is different.
And just finally, you mentioned about IPL before. Have you found yourself as becoming a more senior member of the side, and obviously, scoring hundreds for the team? Here in India, have you given more input than you would elsewhere because of your experience? Other guys might not have experienced India as much, or are you someone that sits back? Have you been forward with your views, or do you just let other people worry about their own games?
I think it's probably the same amount of input I've given everywhere else. After the last game we spoke about the differences we're going to go into now, playing here, obviously different venue, different conditions, and we've got a lot of guys through the dressing room that have actually played a lot of cricket here, which I think will be to our advantage. So, if guys want to talk to me about Eden Gardens and the differences, I'll happily do that. But we've got, a few guys in our coaching staff, and a lot of our players have also had success here. So, I think obviously pre-match we're pretty decent understanding of conditions.
Okay, we'll take two down here on our left and then two here as well.
Hi. Just wanted to check how you've grown into this England-Scotland rivalry. I mean, not just in cricket, but across other sports. We've got, I think, a Six Nations game tomorrow, the football part of the history. What does this rivalry mean to you apart from just cricket?
You asked the wrong person the question. It doesn't mean loads to me in any sports other than cricket. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go here with the white shirt and then next to you, and then we'll take two more here and then we'll go ahead.
Okay. My question to you is about the batting, and it's you have to always set the tone as the opening batter and maybe one of the most aggressive batters going around. When you're batting your way, do you think you expect others along the lineup to follow in the same batting template and to maximize starts which you have produced, or do you expect them to play their own different game, even if it means that it's not following your template?
I think both, to be quite honest. I think T20 cricket, the majority of, building momentum and keeping that momentum is a solid understanding of your partner and your teammates. And I think with any good partnership, if someone's going, you feed them the strike, and vice versa. You said my way there, something I almost pride myself on at times. I know I've had a good day when I do it, is being adaptable. When I get into the game ugly, a lot of the time, I'm looking to put a stamp on the game as early as possible and hit the first over for however many. But I also like the feeling of when I get into the game ugly, when I go run a ball 8, 9, 10, and then take an over down in the power play and build the momentum that way. There's so many different ways to do it, and the majority of it, realistically, depends on how the opposition bowl. You don't want to go out there and just try to slog everything. That's not batting. You want to be adaptable, read the conditions, and play the sort of highest percentage way that you can.
And my other question to you is about one defeat and one win. Do you think the mentality of the 11 or the 15 in the squad under new T20I captain as well, do you think your team is good at chasing a tournament when they're falling behind or when things come into the must-win situation compared to, say, previous England squads? How would you encapsulate the mentality of the current 15 when it comes to chasing behind? Are they good at handling pressure? What's your assessment?
I think we're going to find out the answer to that question in the coming weeks. It's something we've been good at in the past as a group, but the exciting thing for everyone in our camp is that the opportunity is in front of us now to prove that we can do it, to prove that when our backs are against the wall, we can come out and we can play with that personality.
Got two more on this side here quickly, and then we'll do.
Just quickly, you've spoken a bit about the difference between approaching a bilateral and the World Cup. Going forward, what would be your template or the question of adaptability vis-a-vis spin bowling? Because a lot was said after the last two questions. Yeah, and you guys are veterans in the ideal situation. Are you looking from different squad?
Yeah, I think obviously the World Cup being over here in these conditions, it's obviously going to be dominated by spin, a little bit more than anywhere else probably. I think the skill is in reading the conditions well and adapting to them as quickly as possible. It's something we've actually, if you look at last game in isolation, it's something we've done really, really well in the past. Playing against the Westindies, we've hit the spin well on spinning wickets in the Westindies, and that's led to a lot of wins over there. I think the whole conversation around spin is all about, from a batting point of view, reading the conditions and adapting.
The last one here. Thank you.
I feel just a bit of a follow-up from the previous question here, where you spoke about you wanting to stamp your authority on the game. Your personal batting approach, does it alter at all depending on which team you're playing for? Like, let's say an England batting lineup that is deeper, or an RCB one, or previously for KKR, or whoever other franchises you play for? Or is it the same regardless of which team, because it's T20 and you need to just get on with it from ball one?
Yeah, it definitely changes. When I was here, Gigi was quite big on me giving myself a few balls. That didn't necessarily mean, stand there and block the first 6. But it meant, be really, really smart. And it was actually a big part of me getting better as a player. Big part of my improvement was, where are my high percentage shots? Where did they bowl? Where did they miss? Knowing that, going into the game, confident that I've seen all the data, seen all the footage, that I've got a good idea of what's coming at me. They might bowl something completely different, but, I've played the percentages with my prep. And then I can go out in the middle. I'll train with that in mind, with where they miss, with what they go to as defensive options. So I'll tick that box as well. Then I'll go out there and do the exact same thing again. Almost try and repeat it, try and take the sort of conscious thought away from it as best I can. Yeah, I think that's the best way I can answer that question. But obviously it changes, with different coaches and different instruction.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.